Is he gonna come, I see he put out stakes. Is he gonna blow out that 2 foot underneath the bridge, which is actually the drain for the town?
I agree. Now that needs to be done, and that, what I've been trying to get our commissioners to do is get the bridge cleared out. The bridge is, you know, look, you go look at it, it's 30 to 40% plugged.
Yep.
If the bridge would have been
And
cleaned out last year,
The
it probably would not have
level, the
flooded
level
right
of the
there.
bed is raised
So
from
what
all
is
of
the
the stuff that
town
was
gonna
deposited.
contribute to that guy? Anything?
He has asked for no wages, only to compensate him for what he has to spend on gas. Or he went out and bought steaks, so we'll have to pay him for the steaks.
Okay, well, here, I live right next to the river. Here's a check for $300 to the town, and you'll see right down here on the bottom, it says bridge clean out, all right? You give him wages or whatever he needs. That's my donation, all right?
Okay,
I just want it done.
I agree.
Bridge is
Well,
not the
I
city's
agree.
property, that's the
Huh?
county. Where you can't work under the bridge. It's
Why not?
Because it is not city.
The county commissioners, I was up there,
Hey,
I was up there in Joliet,
sir.
and they said, whatever you do,
Lower your
we'll back
voice.
you.
Lower
Hold
your
it.
voice. and
We
people
will back you.
Stop.
Here's the issue that we have.
Well, the county commissioners already said, whatever you do on the river, we will back you. I was up in Joliet when I heard that.
Yep.
Put them
Do you
on
have-
paper
Do you have $1
and get it
million?
cleaned out.
Do you have $1 million to donate to the town so we can?
I'm just
hire-
giving you $300 for his wages to clean out the crap underneath the bridge. That's all I care about, because 30% of the water flow is not gonna run through.
I know.
Where is
How
he?
far is $300?
Where's Scott Miller at right now? If
Where's
this
he
is
at?
that important to all of us, why isn't it important to him? Shouldn't he be here to bear witness to what she said? She was handing the paperwork to, by him.
This is the game we've been playing
Yeah.
for 19 years.
Yeah.
Yeah?
They say, the conservation says, you gotta go to the Corps of Engineers. Corps of
Right.
Engineers says, no, you gotta go to the county and you gotta go to the conservation district. It goes round and around until you get so
And it
sick of
does.
it that you
Tim,
just
just
drop it.
give
And
up.
that's what they want. They want you to just drop it.
Don't forget
And then we
Yeah, and
kill
fish
him.
and
We need to
game
give him a
also.
receipt for
Yeah.
Yeah, could you write a receipt
Hey,
for him?
no, hey, don't worry about it.
No, you
I'll
get a
later.
receipt.
Yeah,
But
you
that's-
need to
that's
give a
just-
receipt.
I just want the bridge cleaned out,
Well, I would like that very much.
because it's 2 foot higher than it was last year, and that's,
I know. I have
2 foot
explained
of
that
water
to
that's
him.
not going through.
I have talked with him about it. But yes, all we can do is what we can do.
I'm just throwing it at you, so
Okay,
y'all have fun, and
thank you. Thank you.
I hope all that crap gets cleaned up before the water.
Yeah, I don't wanna watch it on.
Hold it, everybody, just a minute. We
Can we
have,
be fined if we get proactive and get a group of guys together and start doing what we can? If we can, this guy's paying $300, if we can get some kind of fund going on to drop off a load of rocks and it just happens to be right next to the river.
We can't put any rocks in the
Yeah.
river.
Yeah,
No,
we
but you
can't.
can put it on the land next to the river, and
Yeah.
if the river washes it in there, then that's just
Right.
bad.
Yeah.
Oops,
Yeah,
Now
you
Yeah,
for
can.
my
oops.
driveway.
yes, you
The
have a
problem
question.
is affording it,
I got a message from the governor's office, I've been calling them,
yeah.
and it says, after the front desk told me about your call, I reached out to the Carbon County Department of Emergency Services to get an update on the situation in Fromberg. DES told me some news I'm sure you'll be happy to hear. They will begin cleaning up woody debris from last year's flooding this week. They are still getting permits from the federal government to clean up the stone debris in the river, but is actively in the process. So I just
Okay, now that's kind of what Scott Miller and Scott Blaine told me, that
So-
they're just, but it is a process that you have to go through to get those permits, to do that. And they're not gonna jump in the river just because the Army Corps gave them a permit, that's only part of it. It's a process, and it is a long, you're working with the government, nothing moves fast.
But it wasn't a process anywhere else that takes all this amount of time. Everywhere else. It's because we're not a tourist town.
That's a fact.
We're the
Well-
people of Fromberg who pay our
You
taxes.
don't have to drive
Farmers
through
grow
Fromberg to
the
get
food.
to the Yellowstone Park.
Without
That's right.
all the regular people here, the tourists wouldn't have a restaurant to eat at or a hotel to stay at.
Some of
But
us
they
are
gotta
even
take
cleaned
care
up
of
from the
tourists.
last flood, and we're looking at being flooded again.
Something's coming.
So what happened, Tim, with the meeting that was all down there at the river?
Where they were gonna come in and put in temporary
Temporary, that's
stuff.
part of the
What happened
temporary.
to that? That they were gonna
They-
get it
we
done
talked to
before
them
high
about-
water.
You know, putting dirt and stuff around our wellheads and
No, I'm
raising that.
talking about in the river, they're talking about using those big bags for
Yep.
preventing the river coming over.
Well, we're still talking with them, when they'll answer us or when we can find them. And right now, Jay and I filled 7 bags today. We're having people donate
Can
those
you
big
give those
bags.
people's numbers out? Because Mike asked for cards and conveniently none of them had any cards. Because I will call them. I mean, they'll get so sick of hearing from me, they'll do something about it.
Well, I think they run an eye when I go in. You know, I don't know,
Well, I'll go over there.
but.
But I mean, we
all I
don't
can-
even know who they are or where they were from exactly. Then none of
We're-
them had any cards to hand out.
We're doing the best we can for what we have here. We don't have any money to just go in and drop a bunch of money into it and say it's fixed.
Well,
We
Even
aren't
for what-
asking the town to do
What I
that.
signed for the other
We're
day.
asking the town to find other measures, grants, whatever,
We're
to
trying
get it done.
to-
We understand
she
the
was the one
town
that
doesn't
came,
have any
but
money.
she came because it was the emergency after the flooding.
After the
happened,
flood, she said
She
now
was the
she
one
could get
that-
involved
that she
and,
could do all this stuff and get all this
and there was
stuff
gonna be a
involved.
meeting 2 weeks later and then there wasn't. I mean, it's the same
Well,
stuff we've been dealing with.
I know the lady that's doing the conservation district is doing for 2 different counties. She's working on 50 different projects. So, you know, she's only dealing with the ones, you know, well, when I go there and start yelling, or I don't yell, but I talk to them about well, what's being done, where we at with it, what can I do? That's the best I can do. You know, I had to hire a engineer to come sit in the last meeting just so that they would listen to what we were talking about. Because then the engineer could say, yes. And that was his opinion. But we have to pay an engineer to do that. The engineers don't work for free. I tried to get them to donate, but they don't. I don't know of an engineer that would do that. If you guys know of an engineer that would be willing to come and work on these projects and help us out, that would be great. But right now, it's costing a lot of money just to have an engineer come in and sit down and discuss the permitting and the process that has to go through. So we're working on it. That's all I can say. Will that help? I don't know.
It's not
I'm
gonna help
hoping
this
so.
year.
I'm hoping so. But
We're already at 500.
I've asked for, help. Jim Schuma, he stepped up because he's a project manager and has dealt with a lot of that, and there were just too many details that I can't keep up with. So he's trying to help me out with keeping up with the details. But that's where we're at with some of that.
And now we have more flooding up north, so it's gonna get pushed down further on the list, right?
It is correct.
Okay.
Because we're not flooding. Everybody deals in crisis management within the government. And that's just how it's gonna be. When it starts flooding here, then it'll get serious. And when the water stops, then it'll be back to where the next flood is
Crisis.
taking place. Yeah, next crisis.
Well, hell,
I don't know.
Working
buy a bunch
on
of
it.
beer and have a flood party next time. Maybe that'll get someone's attention.
We do have Jeff here from the Army Corps of Engineers. Maybe now's the time to bring Jeff and ask him, you got anything to add to this?
Yeah, so thanks, Mr. Mayor, for having me here tonight. Though I think the one thing that I can speak to is the Channel Migration Zone project that we've been working on getting funding for the town of Fromberg. I'm not familiar with the bridge cleanout permits and all that stuff. That's probably our regulatory office. I can give you names and contacts if you have questions, but it sounds like you don't need that. So the project that I'm a planner and a project manager with the planning branch in the Omaha district, and I co-lead what we call the Silver Jackets program, which is a state-led interagency program that works on flood risk issues, and we submit proposals every year for projects, and they're 100% federally funded projects. The proposals are due in March of every year, and we typically find out if they're funded in August. And then if they are funded, we get money sometime in the fall to begin work. And the project, we submitted 3, so the DNRC is the lead for the state of Montana. So we work with the state of Montana and Tracy Sears to basically identify all the potential projects every year and then submit proposals to our headquarters, and then they select which ones are funded. And in Montana this year, we submitted 3. One was a channel migration zone mapping effort for Fromberg. We also submitted one for the Yellowstone River, and then there's another project in Livingston that was submitted. But the channel migration zone mapping effort, the gist of it is we would look, we would go upstream to like the rest area, and then go downstream to past the bridge. And there's historical aerial photos that the USDA and the NRCS have. And we would use those to evaluate how the channel has moved over time. And then working with you folks, identify like what's your critical infrastructure along the river, like whether it's wells or bridges or other, you know, public infrastructure that could be at risk if the river takes the wrong turn.
Not private, but public.
Well, yeah, public is generally what we're looking for. If there's other things that we could look at, like structures, we could map structures. I mean, that data's kind of out there.
But you're not even looking at a gentleman that lost 50 feet a riverbank in his backyard.
We're not focused on that for this proposal. We're focused more on the city infrastructure.
The water
But-
wells.
But the idea would be, we would develop some short-term erosion rates and some long-term erosion rates, and you could use that for private, you know, that would be available to the city to share with the public. Like, we would share that would be your data to share with the public, and a private citizen could take that erosion rate, that science and engineering information, and basically use it to estimate how fast their bank's eroding. So it's a tool, and I think it's a valuable tool. A lot of people get this type of information, and they use it to submit for FEMA grants or other grants, and it kind of bolsters like their cost-benefit analysis. So that's kind of the project that we submitted. Like I said, it's 100% federally funded. I'm hopeful that it'll get funded along with the other 2. And if it does, you know, I'd be happy to come back here in this fall and talk about like the details of, you know, where your infrastructure is and what the upstream and downstream limits of the mapping project should be, and kind of fine tune the study for you.
So you're doing the study. Who does the actual work detail? I mean, who would take your information and say, this is what we got to do?
Well, it does not lead to construction of a project. So this program does not lead to construction dollars that would then go to a contractor.
Then what is the funding for?
It's to look at the aerial photos and digitize the bank lines, and then estimate the long-term erosion rate and the short-term erosion rate.
But there's no fix. That's not your part of it.
It's not an authority that
No.
leads to a cost shared fix or anything.
Yeah.
It's just a study. But for anything that we have to do with the permitting, they want a study, and they want engineered before they ever put it out for contractors to come in and do anything. Like I say, it's a long process
And costly.
and costly.
I understand that, but maybe he can answer,
Where'd this come
where
from?
did this come from? It
By
came out of your
Omaha.
Omaha district office.
People were here in July, this was put out in July. If you'd like to look at it, you're welcome to.
Sure, I can take a quick look at it and tell you. I'm not familiar with it, first time I'm seeing it. I know that we had a lot of folks up here doing post-flood assessments. Yeah, so,
I mean, it has a proposal of materials and everything that would be needed to do the riprapping from above Lover's Lane down around the corner to the bridge. Or not to the bridge, but around the corner.
I honestly don't want to misspeak about what that document was and who developed it, but it looks to me like a post-flood assessment where we probably had some people out here and elsewhere in the county looking at damaged areas and writing assessments and producing those sort of documents.
Kinda like what you do.
Study,
A little bit, yeah. Those, that would have been engineers,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep, it just goes around and around and around.
So who do you report to?
I mean, I don't care, we've
Planning,
already
branch,
consigned
Omaha.
ourselves to,
Yeah.
it's gonna eat our land away until it causes problems, more problems for the city wells and more problems for the bridge. So, we do not, as private landowners, do not have $1 million+ to pay to riprap our property. Our property's not worth that, so why would we bother? So, we have asked everybody to help us find grants, whatever, well, they won't even do that, so.
okay.
I'll get you on a different subject,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor. You guys got in your thing, I listened to the last meeting, you're gonna do this, you're trying to do this, repair the sewer line that comes down across from the west end of town and goes down the other end.
Yes, goes underneath the highway and
Right.
railroad tracks.
And as I recall, best case scenario, if we get all the whatever freebie stuff that Chad was talking about, is gonna cost us $250,000 roughly. Worst case was gonna be like $540-some thousand.
Yes.
Why is it that you had a bid proposal for $135,000 to do the job, but yet you went and got an engineer and paid an engineer to re-engineer it, and then you're going with this much?
Because.
Railroad.
Yeah.
That was all going into effect, that bid.
We didn't have approval from the railroad on
The
that.
railroad, we looked at pulling it from the main line. It goes
And Bursting?
north and south on Third Street, the end of Third Street by the sewer plant. From there up to close to where the railroad's at.
Was that the burst,
Okay.
the pipe bursting bid?
Yes, that was a pipe versus.
And we can't do that.
Why?
Railroad won't let us.
Well, the railroad will not allow us to pipe burst underneath there.
I understand that part of it.
Yeah,
Well, the reason we had to do it that way was because we had to hire an engineer.
yeah. To get the railroad to sign off.
And that's.
So
that's
why,
what it is.
so why can't the engineer use the bid that you got previously that was for $130-some thousand?
You can't pipe burst.
It's a
That was
different
for pipe
style.
bursting.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
So
That's a bit,
they
it has to
can,
be
they can
done.
bring the pipe burst up to a certain point and then it has to be
Done.
dug. They have to get their machine in and channel it in at a certain angle and that runs into a lot of money. Because we're trying to get a little cheaper because they're gonna be doing the exact same thing here with a water line underneath the street right behind us here.
The redundant.
A redundant water
Yeah.
line. So they'll have it all there, so, yes.
Did that answer your question?
Sort of.
Okay.
The sewer
Right.
line thing seems like it's down there close to the drain problem thing with Harley and Sean, all right? What I can't understand is, why can't you get a culvert under that ditch with an agreement with them that treats them well and gives them a water gate down at the end and provides for releasing the water underneath the sewer line or whatever you gotta do? In other words, why can't it be all one project and also make sure we have an escape route for all that water?
Oh, what
Now,
water?
one culvert, Sean has a culvert there that could probably be put there, okay?
What's that little culvert gonna do?
I'm saying it's not much, but it's better than nothing. I'm just saying, why can't you
Well-
work out an agreement that will work for the town and for Sean and Harley that will do an extremely good job? Can't that be done? And also would take care of any problems that would come up down there where that sewer line is at. I can understand why you guys can't look at the whole big picture and really deal with it.
We just don't have your vision, I guess.
I
Well,
don't think you want to look at the whole
I
picture.
don't want your vision, I know that.
anyway, let's,
You gotta
hey,
have some kind of vision.
hold it.
You gotta have some kind of
that's
vision.
enough. It's enough.
Tell him that then.
Yeah.
He's on the council. That's enough. Now,
Oh, so he can be
Now-
nasty, because he's on the council.
I apologize.
okay. That is a project that we're working on. And yes, it is gonna cost a lot of money. I wish we could have got it for $130,000. But when you start dealing with a railroad, it's a different thing. when you start dealing with the state highways, there again, special permitting, all that stuff, they took care of all that for the cost, and it's all included in the cost. So, yes, Jim.
At that last meeting, didn't you say that you were taking out a loan for that project?
We're gonna have to take out a loan
Right,
for
and
them.
then it's gonna go up $20 a month for
They're-
household.
About 13.
They're working on a fee scale to figure out how much we're gonna have to raise the sewer rates to pay for it. Jesus Christ. So, yes. And as far as working things out with Harley and Sean, we're working on that. So, but there again, you know, that's something that we're dealing with. Right along with the broken tree branches and the bad roads and everything else. We as a town can only do so much. And so that's what we're doing. Any other comment? Okay. Let's approve the minutes, you guys, for March 14th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from March 14th.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes for March 14th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
How about March 24th, 2023 meeting?
Make a motion on March 24th to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes for March 24th, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. April 3rd meeting. We have a motion.
Make a motion to approve the April 3rd meeting.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes for April 3rd. All in favor?
Aye.
Approve claims.
Make a motion to approve the claims.
You guys had a
From
chance to look
checks.
at them?
Yep.
The checks and stuff?
Yep. Checks 22665 through 22686.
And Bill second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved payroll summary for 03/2023. All in favor?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second his motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve payroll summary. All in favor?
Aye.
Special events application, Carbon County Stillwater.
Hi, my name's Carl Hergenreiner. I'm here to represent the Fromberg co-ed softball team that we play with Carbon County and Stillwater. We've been playing here for, 4 years now. I don't think we've ever had a single issue with the sheriff's department or anybody else, but we're asking that the town provide 1 to 2 porta pots since the lines broke down there and we don't have restrooms during our season again this year. And then we're also requesting to have a waiver for the open container to be lifted. Again, same rules as before, nothing past the fence line, and it's only for the ball field. Last year we had asked to have it lifted for the entire season without any stipulations on days. As far as I know, I don't think we had a single issue with anybody down there drinking that shouldn't have been drinking when they weren't supposed to be there. So again, we had asked for
Wasn't in the
that.
sheriff's report.
What?
It wasn't in the sheriff's.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't remember ever having an issue with it. And last year we had concession stands, which brought, quite a bit for improvement. We got a new roof on the concession stands, thanks to the fine ladies of Fromberg Improvement Committee. And now Clarks Fork Valley Museum is also part of that. So, yeah, we're just asking to do the same thing we've done for the past 4 years.
Did anybody thank Mr. Dick Taylor for everything he did for that?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, we did. And same with Jamin Pa, who stayed and helped me, or I helped Jamin finish up the roof. We still got to put drip edge on it. We do have paint for the rest of the facility. once we get to that point. And then the other thing is we will provide the insurance along with the schedule, and I always highlight what games that we have home, so not only does the town know, but then the sheriffs also know when we're playing at home. And
Do we have to provide the porta potties?
you guys have in the past,
I think we did last year.
Okay.
Yeah, we've done it
Yeah,
since we got a
because-
team.
well, that, and as far as I know, is the water fixed down there after the break this winter? No.
Not yet.
So we don't have any place to
Okay.
go, so when,
So you need,
we had one, I think.
was that sufficient?
Well, we had one bathroom, but the bathrooms were also working.
Right.
Yeah, the bathrooms were also working, was the
Oh,
thing.
yes,
And
there was
we
one.
added teams to the league this year, so we're looking at more competitors. So usually we get the opening tournament, and that's usually about 50 to 60 people that we bring in, depending on how many teams show up.
Okay.
So we would need to provide them for 3 months, basically.
Yep.
June 1st through August 21st?
Yeah.
Some of them double for, like, we move them around
Yeah,
for
you-
Frommer
for-
days and
yep.
stuff too.
Okay.
So it's not a complete, just for there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think European Porta Pots has done a pretty good job on giving us a.
Any
Deal
idea
for
what
those.
they charge?
I think they gave us the contractor's rate of like 125 for like if they did it at a construction site.
Per month, per unit?
I think so. Or 95?
95, yeah.
Yeah, because it's ran by a local Fromberg alumni, so. it
So
was-
that would be a
that works.
$600 outlay for the city. Basically.
Yep. They'll have to come.
I don't know. What, wait,
Two of them, think.
Can't remember on that part.
yeah, I was gonna say
95 each?
95 each, and 1 to 2 would
Well,
suffice.
So if we
No,
have
it was
two,
usually
that's,
95 total a month.
Yeah, 95 a month.
45 each?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they give us a really good.
Yeah,
Okay.
$300 is a pretty good deal.
so.
Okay. Anything else that the city's gonna have to cover?
I think Mom got your information about what needed repaired at the softball field. In case they can, so. That
Yeah.
part, right now the infield's totally unplayable.
Okay.
So we have some funds from the Stillwater, don't we, to take care of that?
So if you guys were to walk down there right now, the surface on the infield is absolutely unplayable. It has to be drug with rake, certain kind of.
It's mushy, and I don't know if you wanna kick this down the road a little bit, because I got the FEMA stuff and I have been investigating. So I don't know if you wanna do that under old business, or if you wanna do it now, real quick.
Yeah, it's, what do you guys think? Go ahead and get it done now?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead.
Okay, so,
Because everything you do down there has to be pretty much approved. by the
okay,
council.
so I will have prices for you on everything that deals with parks by the end of the week, and typed up with like your gravel for your playground. You are, FEMA is not gonna cover the matting underneath. You're looking at, I'm thinking it's $488 or something like that. And I'll put in there explanations as to why and what you wanna do that way. And it's limited to, there's no seating according to FEMA in this. It's sod for that section right behind the awning is what you'll get. And so I'll price that out. I'm not doing the pricing as far as the asphalt and the roads
Right.
go for the parks. Okay, so then it goes to the ballpark, and I got a new education today. So I had originally started off with a guy out of Billings that does ballparks and stuff like that, and he's like, so you dig up some soil and we'll do the, you know, how you did the water and the sand, you shook it up and, you know, you figured out how much clay you had and how much sand you had. And we can kind of work with that, and then we'll put this conditioner in it. It was great until I read the FEMA deal. They're not saying that. In the FEMA deal, they give, it says the baseball field, and it goes 538.199 or 1944 cubic yards of infield mix, includes hardware. And then they give the measurements. And so when I called this guy today and I read it to him, he went, no, not me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he goes, infield mix. The only two places that have it close by are Utah or Colorado. And that's who you're dealing with. And so I made a couple calls to Colorado, and I got a hold of a very knowledgeable man who has done a couple floods. And so his questions were, was your ball field contaminated? Because why do they want so much mix? And he had worked on a flood before where there had been a contamination deal. And he said, so that, and or was there a drainage issue off the ball field? Were they down there and it was sopping wet after FEMA was there? And I said, well, I'm not too sure about that. So I sent Harley some questions today to get with FEMA because this guy offered us some possible solutions. And we'll be kind of going back and forth with him. One of them was to ask if it was contaminated or not, because that is an issue if it is. Or if it's the other way, he gave the possibility. He said on all the ball fields they ever do, they never put 9 inches of that stuff on top. Never. He's like, we just don't do it. He says, I do college fields, I've done semi-pro fields, we never put that much on top. 4 inches is generally the standard. And so we sent a request off, could we get away with 5 inches of topsoil sand mix or whatever, and then another amount, because this stuff is extremely expensive. And then the other question we sent to FEMA is, are they paying for the shipping of it? Because it comes from Colorado, and it's like $45 a ton. So it's going to be down the road. I mean, the only other thing that is possible now is to shake up the water jar and start putting some clay and some sand on it ourselves out of that other fund. Right. And then, okay, so the guy in Billings, this is what he said. There's a lot of these fields around, like Absorki and some of those fields, not the ones with the red fields, but the other colors.
There's not one sanctioned field that we play on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
There's only
yeah.
one in Billings that's sanctioned.
So the guy says what they do is they do the sand deal, and then they buy it's a top coat mix that they mix in with it. It's $790 a bag. And he said, so here's your option. Ideally, you would want 7 on a field, 7 bags on a field, but you could do this if you can budget correctly.